Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Time and money to have the best experiences out of your life. And as discussed in the previous video, in this video we are going to see how to research mutual fund and what are the key factors that you should consider. Again, this is a very wide topic and a wide area to discuss about, but I will discuss and show you few key aspects that you should research. I will take you to my laptop screen where we will research on few of the websites that I prefer. Again, these are something that I would suggest. Again, you can take your own call, and I would suggest you to invest in direct mutual funds without paying any commission to your broker. So this is a part of video on the mutual fund series that I'm doing, right from starting on the various topics that you should know about mutual fund, various factors to consider, that is in terms of mutual fund, and then various factors that you should consider as a person or as an individual, and how you should take decision based on your life goals that you have, and how mutual fund can help you achieve those goals and live a better life, at least helping you to reach financial goals that you have. And I suggest Coin by Zeroda. Check out my link and open your account through that link. So without any further ado, let's jump into the screen and see what are the research you should do. So over here, first website that I want you to visit is Coin by Zeroda. This is the one that I suggest you to invest your mutual funds in, and also you can use Zeroda for your investment in stock markets and various other ETF. And Coin by Zeroda is a much more comprehensive platform for you to invest not just in mutual fund but also government securities, corporate bonds, then ETF and SGB. SGB is nothing but your sovereign gold bonds. So first let us explore mutual fund. So in mutual fund you can click explore category, and once you have opened your account with the link in my description, you can also log in and see your portfolio and various other detailed information. So over here there are some broad categories in which you can research, that is AMC, that is the mutual fund houses. There are various mutual funds that you can invest in, and then other than mutual funds houses, then you have the categories wherein they again change from your debt funds, hybrid equity fund, and then fund of funds, index funds. All these, again, if you are getting confused, go check out my entire series on mutual fund investing, wherein I have covered in detail about various categories as well as dividend type. Again, if you remember from the videos that I have talked about, there are growth fund and IDCW fund. That is the money that you have invested is again reinvested back, that is growth, and IDCW is given back to you. And then again there are various types of IDCW fund. Again, for a much more in-depth understanding, go check out my video on mutual fund investing series. And then minimum purchase amount is something for which few mutual funds have a restriction on how much is the minimum fund or the amount that you should invest for you to even start investing in such sort of mutual funds. Hence this is a filter, but this is something as an additional filter. And if you are planning to invest, let's say, less than 5,000 rupees or so, then this filter might help. If not, then you can almost ignore it. Then expense ratio is another one which is very important, which I have discussed in length in my videos. That is, the lower the expense ratio, usually better. But again, there is no hard and fast rule, but you can consider that a mutual fund with expense ratio less than 1% is something that you should target for. That too, if that is something an active fund, then 1%. If it's index fund, ideally it should be less than 0.5%. Less than 0.2% is much better. And then similarly, CAGR is something wherein the past performance you can filter basis past performance and how much growth or the how much return that that fund has given you over the past years. If you want to filter for something that is, you let's say, greater than 20%, that is possible, and it will show you funds which fall under these category of both CAGR of greater than 20% in 1 year, and similarly expense ratio of lower than 1%. And similarly CAGR, if you want this filter to be applied for greater than 5 years, again the same thing can be applied. And as you can see, this is much better and much for in-depth understanding. You can select one of this. Let's select Access Blue Chip Fund itself. And once you go through this, there is a much more detailed understanding of this. There is both the current NAV of this fund, and this negative is because today when I'm shooting this video, that is 21st Jan 2022, the markets has fallen down by some points. And similarly CAGR, you can see what was the rate of return that you could have expected by investing, and for 5 years also it's given you a 21% increase, and it's quite good. and again the minimum investment amount is 5,000 in this, and then there is something called exit load. Again, for all these you can check out my video on mutual fund investing. Over there I have given you much more deeper understanding. And with this also gives you a riskometer. Again, this is something that you can just see depending on the risk capacity, that is very low, medium and very high risk. And similarly, if it has lock-in period, and similar to that, various sectors that it is investing in and the allocation percentage of that fund. And similarly, few of the main companies or stocks in which this investment has happened. And because this is equity fund, there are all equity based investing that has happened. And if it's a debt fund, then similar investment in debt categories would have shown over here. And then along with that, you can go into in-depth research by clicking on scheme document. And similar to this, these are few key things that you can look at. And for most of them, this will be good enough. And basis, and if you remember the videos that you have seen, then just by bifurcating between these things, it will help you quite a lot. That is equity fund, and then in that equity fund, if you want to select few other and few other subcategories of, let's say, small cap, large cap, PLSS, etc., all these are possible, and it is really helpful. And but if you're someone who wants to do a little more in-depth research, then I would suggest you to go for money control. And this is not just for mutual fund, this is much more wider way of understanding how exactly you can search on various other your market news, and then news regarding financial news, business news, and then portfolio commodity based mutual funds. Basically a very wide source for you to collect information on items related to finance. So you can click on mutual funds over here, and it will redirect you to the mutual fund page. And again, over here there are few key news that are there will be shown over here. You can go down, and then you can see top performing funds. Again, these are something basis the data as well as research done by money control they publish. This can also be a source for you to invest. Again, for most of the people, it is best to invest in those funds where ratings are 4 or above. Below 3 something that might need a little more comprehensive research to understand what exactly it is. So 4 and above can be something that you can consider good to invest and do little more research on that. And other than that, the few other categories basis which you can research is your indices performance. This is as though like a benchmark for you to consider the various indices that are there. Again, if you are seeing this video for the first time, this might look alien to you. Go check out the entire series on mutual fund. And again, on the top performing categories, you can see which are the categories which have given higher return in various years. Again, this is somewhat some data error, I believe, wherein it is showing a negative huge percentage loss. But yes, you should be little careful while going through this and take it with a pinch of salt. And then similar to this, there is this SIP corner, and find all funds by selected AMCs. That is, there are various AMC which you can research basis the mutual fund that you want to invest in. And similar to that, mutual funds in focus is something where it can help for a much more nuanced investor for you to consider which is the time horizon. And again, the earlier video that I've done, I've told you that for a shorter term it is always suggested to invest in liquid funds and debt funds where risk is slightly lower. So this is also something in line to that. And once you go for a higher duration, you can start seeing small cap, mid caps, and various other sort of equity based funds. And similar to mid term, can also give you mid cap and small cap, and lightly lesser than that will also give you some good equity based mutual fund investing. And depending on that, you can select this, but you should do this with a little bit more research. And then highest wealth creator funds is also something that they have come up with to see which has given you the highest return. And when I'm talking about this with respect to the return that this has generated, again a big disclaimer is that past performance is no guarantee for your future returns. You have to take that and consider that and invest with that in mind. But this can be a benchmark, or rather a guiding path, where you would expect that you would want return in similar nature, if not higher. For a safer side, you can assume, again this is not a hard rule, this is something that I use, whatever the return they have mentioned, you can consider 8 to 10% lower than this for the longer term return time frame. And within 1 year it is quite large because of the pandemic situation and increase in return that has happened post that. And similar to that, there is something called new fund offerings, wherein new funds that are entering the market, you can see that, and various mutual fund houses keep on releasing various mutual funds, either basis the market capitalization, then index fund, sectoral based, thematic based, and all these ways they keep on launching new funds for people to invest. And other than this, in mutual funds again, there are various other way. Another place for I would like you to see is mutual fund screener. Again, this is something similar to the coin one, but much more in depth, wherein you can filter on various parameters. As you can see, fund house, then fund category. Again, these are all the things that I had already discussed, and you can go through this for much more understanding. On a much more broader scale, I would like you to look at the small caps, large and mid caps, sectoral, thematic, and then similar to that debt fund, you can consider the funds that I had told: guild fund, that is government related funds, and then banking and PSU funds, liquid fund, etc. And similar to that, fund and rank ratios is something that you can invest, and by default usually money control shows 5 and 4 rated, and this is what is suggested for most of the investor. And there are several other things which a much more experienced investor might use, that is your standard deviation, then beta, etc. And then fund parameters are similarly a thing that you should consider. And again, fund parameters is something you can look out for. And then investment parameters is also where you can see if you want to invest, that is SIP investment or systematic transfer plans, etc. And other than that, you have your place to calculate your SIP returns, and then risk ratios is again something a little more in-depth understanding of this. And in this portfolio you can look at various funds, or rather stocks, or various other asset classes that these funds have invested in, and you can see a little more in-depth the detail of that. And similarly, NAV details, that is your net asset value, what was the rate of that fund as on that day, etc. All this can be seen over here. So this can be a good place to invest. And I would like you to give an example. Let's say you wanted to invest for long term time horizon. I will show to one example each. In coin you can just select for, because it's long term, and as I have discussed earlier, category you can select as equities. And then after that, in subcategory, because in a long term you can consider small cap and then mid cap. And then sectoral thematic is for someone who is little more understanding of those sectors and how it can perform. But for others, I personally feel small and mid cap can be a good enough starting point. So for here I'm selecting mid cap, and post that expense ratio I want to invest in something that is lower than 0.8%, just let's say. Then CAGR in past 5 years, I am expecting something that has generated over 15% or even 20% for that matter. Post this, I can see that there are 8 results that is coming up: Kotak Emerging Equity Funds, then Axis Mid Cap Fund. I would just take this Axis Mid Cap Fund, and post this, you can see that this is something that you can consider investing. Again, this is a very big disclaimer: do your own due diligence. This is something that I'm telling just as an information purpose. And because you can see that expense ratio is just 0.47%, and then this is quite a big fund as well, that is 16,000 crore is under management and just under this fund. So this can be one sort. So with this, I think this will be a really great source for you to start investing. And with this, do drop in on the Telegram channel, and you can have a personal connect with me, and let's have a discussion on this. And from this, let's again switch back from this screen to me. So with that, I think the research that is done on mutual funds was quite extensive, or at least a starting guide for you to decide and think about how you can research on mutual fund. With that, I hope you would like to research more and take a personalized approach, as well as an approach which is a balance between various goals that you have. Again, if you don't feel confident and if you think you need a financial advisor, do take it. Don't think twice, and take advice from professional advisors who are good in their game and can help you really in building that long-term wealth. So with that, I hope it has been very useful for all of you. Check out my Telegram channel Timon, wherein you can have a friendly discussion with me, and where I'm trying to build this community of flying minded people who wants to build their personal finance and have their best personal growth and have better experience out of life. I want to see you on Telegram channel as well. Ensure to subscribe, like the video, and comment down below, and share it with as many people as you can, and spread the word about joining the Telegram channel.